We live at the meeting point of two worlds, the physical and the digital. In this shared space, a new form of artistic expression is emerging, gradually reshaping how we perceive creativity. As art moves beyond traditional materials and enters the realm of data and algorithms, familiar boundaries begin to blur. Digital art is increasingly recognized as a legitimate form of expression, even as it continues to raise questions within the classical art community. Can a creation that exists only in virtual form be considered art in the traditional sense? Does a digital piece carry the same cultural or emotional weight as a work painted centuries ago? These questions reflect not conflict, but transformation. Throughout history, humanity has repeatedly adapted to new artistic languages, from cave drawings to frescoes, from canvas to photography. Today, digital media represents another stage in this ongoing evolution. Digital art changes not only how artists create, but also how audiences engage. Viewers are no longer limited to observation alone. Interaction becomes part of the experience. Human perception of visual art has developed over thousands of years, shaped largely by static images. From early drawings to classical masterpieces, the brain learned to interpret form, color, and depth in still compositions. Researchers who study perception note that viewing traditional artworks typically engages areas of the brain associated with visual recognition. In contrast, interacting with digital works often involves additional processes linked to movement, space, and decision-making. Rather than passively observing, the viewer becomes involved in a more dynamic exchange. Over time, the brain appears capable of adapting to these interactive formats. The experience shifts from quiet contemplation to active participation. Traditional galleries once established a ritual defined by distance, silence, and reflection. Digital art gently challenges these conventions, inviting new forms of engagement. When audiences interact with digital installations, perception can involve multiple senses at once. The experience becomes not only visual, but also spatial and physical. Some researchers suggest that people who grew up surrounded by digital technologies often move more easily between physical and virtual environments, experiencing less contrast between the two. This has led scientists and art theorists to explore what happens internally when people encounter digital art. The emerging field of neuroaesthetics, which connects neuroscience with art history, offers valuable perspectives. Studies using brain imaging suggest that interactive artworks may engage networks related not only to vision, but also to emotion, movement, and choice. In such moments, viewers are not simply observing an artwork, they are responding to it. Some experiments indicate that deep immersion in virtual environments can temporarily reduce self-focused awareness, allowing attention to fully merge with the experience. This state, often described as flow, is associated with deep engagement and is more commonly linked to interactive activities than to static observation. Emotional response also plays a significant role. Contrary to earlier assumptions, digital artworks can evoke strong emotional reactions. Interactivity creates a sense of involvement that passive viewing may not always achieve. Rather than standing apart from the work, the viewer becomes part of its unfolding process. At the same time, human perception continues to adjust to digital aesthetics. Ongoing research suggests that extended exposure to interactive media may gradually influence how people recognize and value beauty. In digital environments, attention itself becomes a meaningful resource. Artists now compete not only for recognition or financial success, but also for moments of focused engagement. Human attention is limited, and digital spaces are saturated with content. As a result, many creators explore ways to communicate ideas quickly and effectively. Some digital artworks are designed to create immediate emotional impact through movement, sound, or vivid color. This approach has sparked discussion about where artistic intention ends and persuasive technique begins. Influences from gaming and advertising have entered the artistic landscape, raising thoughtful ethical questions. When visual strategies resemble promotional design, observers may wonder how artistic meaning is affected. In response, some creators intentionally slow the experience down. Meditative digital works encourage reflection rather than instant reaction, offering depth instead of immediacy. Can an arrangement of pixels evoke genuine emotion? Today, this question feels increasingly relevant. Many studies suggest that virtual experiences are capable of producing emotional responses comparable to those triggered by traditional art. The immaterial nature of digital environments can even enhance immersion, creating a sense of openness and possibility. When viewers influence how a digital artwork unfolds, they invest part of themselves in the process. This sense of participation often strengthens emotional connection. Psychologists describe this as a form of identification, where individuals relate to elements of a virtual environment in meaningful ways. Emotion, whether triggered by physical or digital experiences, follows the same biological pathways. The feelings themselves are real, regardless of their source. Historically, art followed a one-directional model. The artist created, and the audience observed. Digital media introduces a more reciprocal relationship. Interactivity allows viewers to shape meaning and outcome. Rather than receiving a fixed interpretation, they explore possibilities. This shift makes art more personal and participatory, while also raising new questions about authorship and intention. The discussion becomes even more complex when algorithms are involved. When people learn that a work was generated with the help of artificial intelligence, perceptions often change. Some viewers respond more critically, influenced by long-held associations between creativity and human experience. Interestingly, when the origin of a work is unknown, evaluations of human-made and AI-assisted art tend to be more balanced. In some cases, digital creations are appreciated for originality or emotional impact without reference to their source. This suggests that bias, rather than quality alone, plays a role in judgment. Younger generations, raised alongside algorithms, often show fewer reservations. For them, the experience itself carries more weight than the method of creation. Similar patterns have appeared before in art history when new technologies were initially met with skepticism before becoming accepted. Virtual reality further expands this landscape. In immersive environments, the body becomes part of perception. The concept of embodied cognition suggests that thinking involves physical presence as well as mental processes. Within digital installations, this idea becomes especially visible. Research into virtual environments shows that the body can respond to simulated experiences in ways similar to physical ones. Heart rate, posture, and attention adapt naturally. This opens new possibilities for artistic expression that are not limited by physical constraints. Immersive art can place viewers inside experiences that would otherwise be impossible, moving through abstract spaces, changing perspective, or exploring unfamiliar forms of identity. As boundaries dissolve, the relationship between artwork and observer evolves. Time perception can also shift. Moments spent inside a virtual installation may feel compressed or expanded. This altered sense of presence becomes part of the aesthetic experience itself. Digital aesthetics introduce new ideas of beauty. Instead of symmetry and permanence, artists often explore movement, transformation, and complexity. In environments where technical limitations are fewer, creative focus shifts toward concept and emotional resonance. Younger audiences, accustomed to digital imagery, often prefer interaction over stillness and process over final form. For them, beauty is closely connected to engagement. Online platforms have extended art beyond physical spaces, forming communities that influence perception and evaluation. Social interaction plays a role in how digital works are received. Likes, comments, and shared responses can shape collective judgment. While these networks increase accessibility, they can also create patterns of repetition, where familiar styles circulate within closed loops. Recommendation systems tend to reinforce existing preferences, limiting exposure to unfamiliar ideas. In digital spaces, identity itself becomes fluid. Avatars and virtual personas extend how individuals express themselves. Over time, elements of these digital identities may influence everyday behavior and self-perception. Artists often explore this relationship directly, using digital media as a mirror for personal and collective identity. Interactive narratives allow people to experience alternative perspectives and explore aspects of self beyond social boundaries. Digital environments are increasingly used for reflection and creative exploration. By reshaping experiences in controlled virtual spaces, individuals can revisit memories, imagine alternatives, and gain new insights. As technology evolves, the psychology of digital art perception continues to develop. The boundary between physical and virtual experience grows more transparent. Emerging interfaces may eventually allow artistic experiences to be transmitted in entirely new ways. These possibilities raise important philosophical questions about perception, authorship, and authenticity. As artificial systems become more capable, society may need to rethink how creative value is defined. It is possible that, in the future, human imperfection will be valued more deeply, seen as a sign of authenticity. In a world of limitless digital creation, the essential skill may not be producing content, but learning to perceive it thoughtfully, recognizing meaning, intention, and depth amid abundance.